The Fractured Order. The grand spire of Virulon rose like a crystalline dagger into the black sky of Ishara Prime. Beneath its glittering surface, the central chamber of a unified Concord trembled, not from physical assault, but from fear. For the first time in 1,000 years, the 5 great empires stood divided. Supreme Chancellor Karzin of the Isharan Dominion stared across the vast circular dais, his voice slicing through the tense silence. This is no longer an isolated incident. That makes 11 worlds in 4 cycles. We must accept the truth. We are at war. No, the Threxian matriarch's words hissed through her translator sphere. We are not at war. We are being unmade from within. Our systems fail, our garrisons fall, and not to fleets, but to whispers and fire. You speak of war? I speak of collapse. The chamber erupted into bitter arguments, high-pitched alien voices rising in chaotic discord. On the holoscreen in the center of the floor, rotating projections displayed damaged spaceports, ruined garrisons, and the unthinkable, alien citizens cheering alongside human insurgents. The humans. A century ago, they were nothing. A newly discovered species on a modest, green-blue world at the edge of spiral arm. Back then, they had no faster-than-light travel, no planet-killer weapons, no significant AI infrastructure. The Concord had considered them just another primitive species to be cataloged, pacified, and folded into the machinery of empire. Yet now, they were a cancer spreading across imperial space, impossible to predict, impossible to crush. Fleet Marshal Zurak of the Kelnathi Ascendancy finally broke his silence. They are not unified. These uprisings have no central command. They are cells, fluid, adaptive, always evolving. We destroy one, and 3 more emerge. We have conquered thousands of species, but never one like this. Chancellor Karzin's voice turned to venom. They are humans. Filthy, irrational, emotional creatures. This is not strategy. This is chaos dressed as rebellion. Chaos wins, muttered High Executor Vorn of the Seric Hegemony, especially when your empire forgets how to lose. A shrill alarm interrupted the debate. A new hologram appeared, and for a moment, none could speak. It showed the planetary capital of Drazari 4, a fortress world in the heart of Isharan space. Smoke plumed from its citadel. The human banner, strange and asymmetrical, a bold spiral entwined with fractured stars, now flew over the governor's tower. Karzin stumbled backward. Impossible. That world held a war fleet and 5 legions. Gone, said Vorn coldly. The reports say their own systems turned against them. Ships refused commands. Defense grids opened their gates. The humans didn't conquer Drazari 4. They rewrote it. A dreadful silence took hold of the chamber. Outside the spire, across thousands of light years, 100 other worlds waited in fear or hope. For the first time in 10 millennia, the age of absolute control had met a force it could not quantify. And in the shadows of shattered colonies and corrupted stars, the human spark burned brighter than any had foreseen. The catalyst. Long before the flames of rebellion reached the heart of the empires, they smoldered in the ashes of Earth. 50 years ago, humanity's homeworld was a broken place. Orbital industries stripped, cities garrisoned, oceans mined for resources by imperial harvesters. The Isharan Dominion had claimed Earth as a training zone and resource outpost. Its people scattered, subjugated, and largely forgotten by the galactic elite. But in the shadows of crumbling metropolises and under the surveillance of arrogant alien overseers, a resistance began. Its name was the Terran Resurgence. The movement didn't start with armies. It started with stolen data, smuggled circuits, and whispered messages in ancient subway tunnels. Its founders were scientists, hackers, soldiers, humans who understood they could never match the Empire in power, but they could outthink it. Among them was Kira Miles, once a cyberneticist at the University of New Chicago before it was leveled during the First Purge. Thought dead, she re-emerged years later as something else. Admiral Kira Miles, commander of the Tempest Armada, the largest known human fleet operating in deep space. The Tempest Armada wasn't like the sleek warships of the empires. Its vessels were mismatched, cobbled from asteroid refineries, derelict freighters, and reverse-engineered alien tech. But they were fast, agile, and equipped with weapons designed to disrupt, not dominate. EMP lances, AI spoofing nodes, stealth hulls, and atmospheric reentry pods for fast orbital strikes. What made them deadly wasn't the hardware. It was the strategy. Unlike the rigid, command chain-heavy empires, humans fought like wildfire. No central nodes, no predictable tactics. Every cell operated independently, but shared one philosophy: disrupt the machine. Hit supply chains, hijack AI systems, liberate labor camps, then vanish. And it worked. On the outer rim world of Veltron's Hold, a single human hacker team crashed the planetary AI, causing automated weapons to turn on their Asharn commanders. On Kalos 3, a squad of insurgents disguised as maintenance drones detonated the docking bays, crippling a Kelnathi dreadnought before it ever launched. But the true turning point came on Dreeken 4. Kira herself led the operation. The world was a critical logistics hub, well-defended, strategically vital, and thought impenetrable. The resurgents didn't attack it. They turned it. Using deepfake comms and injected command protocols, they convinced the local defense AI that a biological pathogen required evacuation. Panic followed. During the confusion, human operatives seized control of the central tower, released thousands of enslaved beings, and transmitted a message to all nearby systems. To every species living under chains, rise. You are not alone. The Terran flame burns for all who seek freedom. The impact rippled. For the first time, non-human populations began joining the cause. Not out of fear, but hope. In her personal log that night, Kira wrote, "We were never meant to win by matching their strength. We win by proving there's another way to live. And if enough choose it, the empires fall on their own." And somewhere in the dark, among the stars, the empires began to tremble. Cracks in the empire. High Commander Trell of the Zorati hegemony had never questioned orders. Born into the warrior caste, bred for obedience, his purpose was clear: enforce dominion, protect the hierarchy, suppress dissent. But standing on the scorched plains of Zanari V, watching liberated civilians offer food and water to captured Zorati soldiers, his resolve began to crack. The Terrans had struck fast, disabling orbital defenses through coordinated cyber assaults, then deploying drop teams not to slaughter, but to liberate. In place of banners, they raised communication nodes. In place of indoctrination, they gave choice. And that terrified the empires more than any weapon. Across the galaxy, the same pattern unfolded. Human insurgents didn't just destroy, they inspired. On worlds like Norelos, Theskai, and Jula Prime, enslaved species no longer cowered when the patrol ships arrived. They sabotaged fuel lines. They turned their weapons inward. They chanted Terran words: freedom, dignity, unity. The unified Concord's response was panic. Military deployments doubled. Surveillance AIs were reprogrammed. Propaganda broadcasts looped across occupied systems. The Terrans bring chaos. Order must prevail. But the Empire's message rang hollow in the face of undeniable truth. Entire garrisons defected. Millions began to ask dangerous questions. Why do the humans, weakest of us all, fight so fiercely? What do they know that we have forgotten? Even in the heart of the Empire, on the luminous world of Alaris, cracks formed. Holograms of Admiral Kira Miles, her voice calm, resolute, played on black market screens. We do not want your submission. We want a choice. Join us not as subjects, but as equals. The empires divide. We unite. The message spread like wildfire, impossible to contain. Within the Concord itself, tensions frayed. The Sarek hegemony pushed for total extermination of humanity, proposing a sterilization protocol. The Threxian matriarchs, more cautious, advocated limited negotiation. The Kelnathi threatened to withdraw from the alliance entirely. The once indivisible bloc was fracturing. paralyzed by fear, pride, and the impossible question. What if humanity was right? In secret, some began talks. Mid-level officials, sympathetic governors, even alien rebel cells, all reaching out to the Terran resurgence with one request: help us change the system. Back on Zanari V, Commander Trell knelt before a wounded Terran medic tending a Sarah child. He asked one simple question: why? The human looked up, hands soaked in blood, and answered, because if we don't help each other, we become like them. That night, Trell deactivated his Imperial beacon and transmitted a private message to a hidden Terran relay. This is Trell of the Zorati. I was once your enemy. I no longer know who I am, but I wish to learn. Tell me what it means to be free. And with that, the first Zorati warlord joined the Terran cause. The Concord's greatest fear was now real. Not that humans would win, but that their ideas would. The tipping point. The battle for New Bastion began with silence. Orbiting a barren moon in the unclaimed Trivar expanse, the fortress was hidden from Imperial charts. It had once been a mining station. Now it was the heart of the Terran resurgence. Beneath its surface, human engineers coordinated encrypted comms. Refugees were armed and trained, and defected alien commanders plotted with their former enemies. And now, a fleet of nearly 600 Concord warships surrounded it. Admiral Kira Miles stood in the command center, eyes locked on the incoming projections. The Empires had unified one final time, desperate to crush the insurgency before it became irreversible. New Bastion's defenses were strong, but not strong enough. We're outnumbered nearly 10-1, her aide muttered. We'll never hold. Kira didn't look away. We're not here to hold. At her signal, the Tempest Armada scattered. Not in retreat, but into formation. They didn't aim to win by brute force. Every Terran vessel had a target. Command bridges, AI control nodes, fuel lines. The humans didn't fight conventionally. They unwound their enemies, peeling away the structure that gave the Empire its strength. And then, just as the Empires began to adapt, the second wave arrived. From hyperspace burst hundreds of ships, painted not in Terran colors, but in the insignias of defected fleets: Zorati raiders, Threxian skimmers, Varnai storm cruisers. Former enemies now fought side by side, their crews bound by a shared dream: liberation. Chaos reigned. Empire ships hesitated, recognizing former comrades. Their formations crumbled. AI systems, compromised weeks ago by Terran viruses, misfired or shut down entirely. One by one, Imperial vessels went dark, their crews surrendering or joining the Allied fleets. In the center of it all, Kira broadcast her final message, not just to the battlefield, but across every open channel in known space. To the peoples of the galaxy, today you are free. The Empires told you fear keeps order, but fear only feeds tyranny. We will build something new, not on dominance, but on dignity. The stars are no longer theirs to rule. They are ours to share. It wasn't a declaration of victory. It was an invitation. When the last Concord dreadnought drifted powerless above New Bastion, the war didn't end with a bang, but with a choice. Some Imperial remnants fled to deep space. Others surrendered. Many simply laid down their arms and listened. Weeks later, the first session of the Coalition of Free Worlds was held on New Bastion's surface. Every species had a seat. Every voice was equal. High Commander Trell sat beside Kira, now bearing no rank, only the title citizen of the stars. Around them stood beings who once saw humans as vermin, now allies, even friends. In the records of the old empires, the crisis was never truly understood. Their historians called it the human factor, the unpredictable variable that shattered their perfect equations. But those who lived it knew the truth. It wasn't chaos. It was freedom.